Okay, so let's look at project details. Basically, we are looking at this section here and figuring out what are the inputs that are required here. So over here, we've got project name. So if you've got a project, I usually, under project name, I usually use an abbreviation to identify my project. So say, for example, the address is 138 Albion Road, Windsor. This is one of my old projects that I did a while ago, and it's an apartment building, and as you can see, it had 9 apartments in there, so 9 two-bedders and so on. So basically what we're trying to do here is put in some details. Anything that you put in here will get added to the header, and it will also carry on in this section right here. So let's look at this. So the address of the project prepared by the name of the person, unit of measurement. If you use square feet, you put select square feet. If you use meter square, you select meter square. If you use the currency symbol, let's say I want to change that and use pounds or euro or whatever, I just have to go to format, number, and more currencies. I can just copy the pound symbol here, and if I change that to pound, you will notice that everything else in the project will show you a pound symbol. So that it can be used anywhere else, everywhere else, so to speak. So tax name, you select your tax name. Let's say tax name is GST, and you select the value for GS tax rate. So put 10% here, and whether or not you have margin scheme. If you're from US, you don't really need to worry about this. Just select NA and don't worry about any of these. This probably none of this will have any effect on the calculations. So it changes when it's a GST, and margin scheme is a way of calculating the GST. However, if you've got a commercial property, let's say you do have GST and you're from Australia or from New Zealand, but you're doing a commercial property, make sure you select no. But there are checks built into it to do that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do a feasibility, show you with what happens with GST, and then with a flick of a switch we'll just change everything to not applicable, and I'll show you the impact that has. So you'll see that your calculations, all of these, whether or not they have GST or don't have GST, will look will have no impact on the calculations, because the GST is then taken out completely from the picture altogether. As you can see, if you do select not applicable, some of these cells get hidden automatically, and all you have to do is come in and select whatever way you want to go. So let's say you've got project details, so you got land purchase price or whatever you were buying the land for. So let's say 1.2 mil. We're buying the land for 2 mil. And then if you've got residential, pure residential, make sure your commercial is 0. And if you are doing just commercial, make sure your residential is 0, and you add for commercial, and you add number of units or number of saleable areas that you are creating for it. And it's usually for mixed use and so on. So if I put 1 over here, then I will know the value for those. So it's basically the way it works is that it's usually primarily designed for residential, but it is also it can also do mixed use development. So if you're doing pure commercial, I would say you go and do use a lead developer, because that includes that. If in that you can do even just pure commercial if you wanted to, but in this one it's actually either residential or residential and commercial both combined. So let's say in this example we do an example where we have 4 residential apartments, so to speak, and on the ground floor I'm gonna have 1 retail outlet. So now we have about 5 of them, and then we select our sensitivity. This is what we want to see the impact of. Let's say our total costs were to increase on a scale of 3% and 6% and so on, or what would be the effect on the development if the cost went up by 3% in 3% increments, and if what will happen if the sales went up or down in 5% increments and decrements. So that is what we select here. So if you want to see it move in 3 to 5%, I usually leave it at 3 for costs, because usually costs have a massive impact, and especially in construction costs. The thing is that we already allow for a 5% contingency, and this sensitivity analysis is on top of that contingency. So if you leave that at 3, I think it's a pretty good scenario. Or you can just say, look, I want to see 5% each, and I'll see what it looks like. So where this is having an impact is right here, right at the bottom on your sensitivity tables. So when you do a sensitivity analysis, that's what's happening here. So that's how they are actually moving over here. So let's go back in here, and that's pretty much it. And in the next video, we'll start looking at residential sales and so on.